Hello, it's Kevin here, again, for IELTS 9 Pro, or if you're seeing me on my channel, English with Kev, English Native, etc. Now, if you haven't seen any of these videos before, I'll give you a quick rundown. So, what we're doing, we're going through every Cambridge book, all the previous papers, right? So we started at 17, and we're going to do them all the Cambridge Task 1 and all the Task 2 essays. So, this particular series we're doing academic writing Task 1. So we did the 4 tests from 17, 16, 15, 14, and this is test number 3 from Cambridge 13. Okay, now first things first, disclaimer, fair use, non-profit, education, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so don't be writing complaining. So, this is it. Let's take a look at this first, okay? Now, top 10 countries for production and consumption of electricity in 2014. Okay, so we've got billions of kilowatts, the ranking, etc. Now, the obvious feature. So, when you're writing this, right, so the introduction, it's usually a sentence or two. You simply paraphrase, the chart illustrates the rankings of countries for electricity consumption and production in 2014 or something. That's pretty straightforward, right? What's going to get you some good points is the overview. Now, I keep having to say this every single time, but the overview are the most important parts. Now, for this one, it's pretty clear. One of the key things here is 9 out of the 10, with one exception of Germany, produces more than it consumes. Not by a considerable margin, no, but still, everyone except one, 9 out of 10, production exceeds consumption. So that's key feature 1. And then, it's simply what's the biggest, what's the smallest, what's the largest, what's the same, what's changed, what hasn't changed. So obviously here, extreme outliers, China, United States. And then everybody else more or less is pretty similar to some extent, yeah? And the degree of overproduction is minimal in most cases. It's not there's not a huge disparity, yeah? So, 9 out of 10 producing more than they consume. China, United States, the biggest. So, the main thing here, so I start off by pointing out the rankings. Let me just show you mine first. Okay. Right, so, this is only 186 words. Now, as you'll see, sentence 1, pretty straightforward, right? The top 10 countries, electricity, blah, blah, blah. Overview, it can be seen that in all but one country, Germany, production exceeded consumption. The countries with the highest, China and America, remaining countries. It's early here, early morning. And as always, I'm recording this just before my lessons start. So I've got 12 minutes to get this finished. It's Thursday morning here, the 9th of March, just in case you're interested, or even if you aren't. Anyway, well, the remaining countries, roughly similar, etc. Okay, so, paragraph number 3, pretty straightforward. What's the biggest? China, America, and you need to make comparisons, right? Because it says compare, if relevant. Now, the 4th paragraph, this is the hardest one, and this is the one that's not so good, because it's mainly just a list of data. So what you're going to try and do here is not present it in every sentence, in every country instance, precisely the same. You need to vary it a little bit. So you can put production, consumption in brackets, parentheses. You can put them both in, you can put figures, you can do it first, second, fifth, seventh, you can mix things up. So it's not simply exactly the same way of presenting the data for every single one, because that's all that you can really do in this particular task, right? Because There's nothing else, 9 out of 10 overproduced by a little bit, 2 biggest, and then it's just a rankings table. So lots of data. So that's what I would do first, right? And that's only 186 words, so that's not bad. Yeah. So introduction, overview, the biggest first, and then do the rest going down. Okay, so that one's mine. Close off that. Let's have a look at yours now. I've got a Telegram group, IELTS 9 PRO, and I post the tasks and I choose the first 5 people to respond. I take their writings, and that's what we're going to have a look at. Now this first one is only 152 words, so it's not very long, and we can see why. Most of the data is missing. Right, so introduction, okay, overview, okay, but it doesn't mention that thing about 9 out of 10 overproduced. Then Korea Republic, no data. 1,300 kilograms consumption in the United States, doesn't mention the data, no data. So there's no data. So this would not work at all. You wouldn't get a very good score here because you haven't presented any data. There's like 2 pieces of data here, and that's it. So we need to work on that more. Okay, next. Even shorter, 116. So, which top 10 countries? Now, I'm not going to rewrite all these. 1, can't be bothered. 2, I don't have time. So the bar chart shows which 10 countries produce and consume the largest amount of electricity in 2014. Well, that's more or less. China, United States. So they've done biggest and the smallest. Okay. But still nothing about the main thing, 9 out of 10 overproduce. Doesn't mention that. And you've got China, Brazil. Sorry, what am I doing there? You've got China. Okay. Russia. Why are you comparing it with Russia? So why wouldn't you compare China and America, the 2 largest? What's that got to do with anything? Why would you compare those? Hydrogen in Brazil, same thing in Germany. Right. That's again, so way too short, not enough data, and it's not organized in a logical way or manner. Okay. 179. Okay. Now, this one's better. All right. Given bar charts, all countries produce more than consume, with the exception of Germany. That's good. Okay. China and USA first second place, respectively. Russia 3rd place. Now, the only thing. Now, this is what I was talking about how you need to vary it, because look, we've got produced, consumed, respectively. Produced, consumed, respectively. Consumed, respectively. Roughly produced. So, paragraph number 3, there's not a lot of variation in vocabulary there, yeah? We've got produced, respectively, consumed. Brazil, Germany, and the Korean Republic, 9 and 10 roughly produced, so production, yeah. So, right, I would have done it the way that I would have done it the way that I did actually do it, if that makes sense. So, China, America first, they're the biggest, then simply go down in rankings, I think. So that's not too bad, but the language needs to vary, and I would organise it a little differently. Kilowatts, okay, that's good. United States, significantly large figures produced and consumed the highest amount of electricity. Whereas Korea had the least amount in both comparisons. Okay, so that's not bad, but still. So this one here, except Germany, whose consumption was out, the remaining countries are the opposite pattern. So that's kind of what I said, but in reverse. So I would have put that point first. 9 out of 10 produce more than they consume, with one exception. Okay, and then what's the biggest? First with China, respectively, as big as those. Why are you comparing China with Russia? Why not compare China with the second biggest, the United States? I mean, why would you compare it with Russia as opposed to compare it with Brazil or France or any other country? Why would you do that? It's like, what's the purpose? Compare the first and second, but why would you compare the first and the third? Okay. Producing, consuming, 6 comes from Japan, the rest of the country of either making or absorbing this resource that's not very good. That's production. So it would have been, that's 210, right? It would have been easier to do as I did, essentially. Okay, the given chart represents 2014, maximum users in China. So that's not bad. So they've got the biggest and the smallest, but they haven't mentioned that key thing. 9 out of 10 produce more than they consume. Regarding the bar chart, relative to China, States, and Russia, respectively, this one. Ooh. So it looks like they're doing production first. And then, so regarding the bar chart, turning to the chart. Well, how can you turn to the chart? You've just regarded it. You can't regard it and turn to it. It's basically the same. So that doesn't make a lot of sense. And why do you have production in one paragraph and consumption in the second? That doesn't really make a lot of sense either, does it? So that needs reorganizing. I don't think that would make a lot of sense. And that's it. Oh, I thought I had more. Okay, so most of these do need a fair bit of attention, right? So the introduction is pretty straightforward. Yeah, you do the chart shows blah 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 blah, but the overview, right? What's the key? There's usually 2 or 3 key trends or features. And as I say, 9 out of 10 produce more than consume. That's the biggest, that's the second biggest, that's the smallest. Yeah, and then it's simply a list of data. But what you've got to do is try and mix it up so it's not simply consume, produce, respectively, consume, produced, respectively. That's not going to get you a very good score for your lexical resource, really. So, not too bad. I'll quickly put mine on the screen again, and then I'm going to have to close this off because I've got to go and talk to somebody on italki. So let me quickly pull that there. Okay, you should be able to see that. Yeah, you can pause it later and see how I've done that. Okay, good. So I've got to get off. Yeah, that's all for today. So the new task is posted. It's a map. Cambridge 13, test number 4. I think it's a hospital map. I'm not sure. I took a look at it. Can't remember. But anyway, that's what's going to be coming up next. And there's an essay which I posted, but only one person so far has responded. Anyway, links to the groups, etc., blah, 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 below in the comment box, and I'll see you later. Bye for now.